You've booked the flight. You've scrolled through the incredible pictures, dreamt of the ancient temples, the neon-lit streets, and the amazing food. Japan is waiting for you. It's an incredible country, a place where ancient tradition and the far future seem to exist all at once. But there's a small, invisible barrier between you and the perfect trip. It's a set of unwritten rules, social customs, and practical quirks that can lead to confusion, mild embarrassment, or even wasted time and money. The good news is, they're all very simple to understand. In the next few minutes, we're not just going to give you a list of rules. We're going to explain the why behind them, so you can navigate Japan with the confidence of a seasoned traveler, not a confused tourist. This is your guide to avoiding the 12 most common mistakes people make on their first trip. And we'll start with something you'll encounter within the first few hours after you arrive. Mistake number 1. Fumbling with your money. So, you're at a convenience store, maybe a 7-Eleven or a Family Mart, grabbing your first onigiri rice ball. You go up to the counter, the cashier scans your items, and you hold out your cash to pay them. But they don't take it. They smile, maybe bow slightly, and point to a small plastic tray sitting on the counter between you. This is your first cultural test, and it's a simple one. The mistake here is trying to hand money directly to the cashier. In many cultures, this is completely normal, but in Japan, it's a bit of a fumble. The correct way is to place your money, both bills and coins, into that little tray. The cashier will then take it, process the payment, and place your change back into the same tray for you to pick up. The reason behind this is twofold. First, it's about hygiene. It avoids the direct hand-to-hand transfer of germs. Second, it's about clarity and respect. It prevents any fumbling or dropping of coins, and it allows both you and the cashier to clearly see the amount being paid and the change being given. It's a small, efficient, and respectful system. This applies almost everywhere you'll use cash, from department stores to small ramen shops. If you see a tray, use it. A little extra tip here: Japan is still surprisingly a cash-based society, especially once you get outside of the major city centers or into smaller, family-run restaurants. Always have a decent amount of yen on you. Also, you'll get a lot of coins back as change. Investing in a small coin purse is not a tourist cliché. It's a genuinely practical move that will stop your pockets from rattling and make paying for small things much, much easier. Mistake number 2. Being loud on trains and buses. The public transit system in Japan is a modern marvel. It's clean, it's efficient, and it is almost supernaturally punctual. But it also runs on a very important and spoken rule: it is a space for public quiet. The mistake many first-time visitors make is treating the train like a living room. They'll have a loud conversation with their travel partner, watch a video on their phone with the sound on, or answer a phone call and talk at full volume. To a local, this is incredibly disruptive. The cultural reason for this goes deep. It's tied to the concept of wa, spelled W-O, which means group harmony. In a country as densely populated as Japan, maintaining public harmony is crucial. Your personal space extends to the sounds you make. On the train, people are commuting to work, reading, or just resting in the few quiet moments they have in a busy day. Intruding on that shared quiet is considered poor manners. The fix is simple. Before you board a train, make sure your phone is set to silent. In Japan, this is often called manner mode. If you need to listen to music or watch a video, use headphones, and make sure the sound isn't so loud that it's leaking out for everyone else to hear. If you absolutely must talk to your travel companion, do so in a low whisper. And never, ever take a phone call while you're in the main train car. If it's an emergency, the proper etiquette is to move to the designated area between the train cars to take the call. While the long-distance bullet trains, the Shinkansen, are a little more relaxed, the same basic principles apply. Keep the volume down and respect the shared atmosphere of the journey. Mistake number 3. Hitting the Japan Rail Pass wrong. The Japan Rail Pass, or Junior Pass, has been a famous travel tool for decades. For a long time, buying it was a no-brainer for most tourists planning to visit multiple cities. But here's the mistake, assuming this is still automatically true. Following a major price increase in late 2023, the Junior Pass is now significantly more expensive, and it is no longer the guaranteed money saver it once was. The mistake is buying it out of habit, without actually doing the math for your specific trip. This can be a very costly error. Let's be clear, the Junior Pass can still be worth it, but only for very specific, fast-paced itineraries. The only way to know for sure is to plan your major train journeys and compare the cost of individual tickets to the cost of the pass. You can use online calculators for this. Just search for Junior Pass Calculator. For example, if your trip is just a simple round trip from Tokyo to Kyoto within a 7-day period, buying individual tickets for the Shinkansen is now almost always cheaper than buying a 7-day Junior Pass. However, if your itinerary is something like Tokyo to Kyoto, then to Hiroshima, then back to Tokyo, all within 7 days, the pass might just save you money. You have to check. The fix is to treat the Junior Pass not as an automatic purchase, but as a potential option to be investigated. Plan your route first, then price it out. Also, remember the pass's limitations. It doesn't cover the very fastest Shinkansen trains, the Nozomi and Mizuho, without a substantial extra fee. And critically, it doesn't cover city subway systems, like the Tokyo Metro. You'll still need a separate Suica or Pasmo card for getting around within cities. Don't make the expensive mistake of buying the pass on autopilot. A little bit of research here could save you hundreds of dollars. Mistake number 4, sticking chopsticks in your rice. Japanese cuisine is a highlight of any trip, and using chopsticks is part of the experience. While nobody expects you to be an expert, there is one mistake that you should avoid at all costs. It's something that might seem innocent, but it carries a very heavy cultural meaning. The mistake is sticking your chopsticks upright into your bowl of rice. To a Japanese person, this is not just bad manners, it's a shocking and deeply uncomfortable sight. The reason is directly tied to Japanese funeral rites. At a traditional funeral, a bowl of rice with chopsticks stood vertically in the center is placed on the altar as an offering to the deceased. Therefore, doing this at a dinner table is a powerful and direct symbol of death. It's a bit like casually making the sign of the cross in a non-religious, inappropriate context in a Western country, but even more jarring. It brings a somber, sacred ritual into a completely inappropriate setting. The fix is very simple. Whenever you're not using your chopsticks, place them on the provided chopstick rest, which is called a hashioki. It's that little ceramic or wooden object next to your bowl. If there is no rest provided, you can lay them neatly together across the top of your bowl, parallel to the edge of the table. Just never ever stand them up. While we're on the topic, there are a couple of other chopstick no-nos. Avoid passing food directly from your chopsticks to another person's chopsticks, as this is also part of a funeral ritual for handling cremated bones. And try not to point at people or things with your chopsticks, or spear your food with them like a fork. Again, no one will get angry if you're a bit clumsy, but avoiding the big, culturally significant mistakes will show a level of respect that will be quietly and deeply appreciated. Mistake number 5, wearing your shoes indoors. This is one of the most well-known rules about Japan, but it's also one of the easiest to forget in the moment, especially when you're tired from a long day of exploring. The mistake is forgetting to take off your shoes when you're supposed to. This rule applies when you enter a private home, but also in many other places: traditional ryokan inns, the changing rooms of clothing stores, the wooden floors of temples and shrines, and even some traditional restaurants and izakayas. The cultural reasoning is rooted in a clear and practical distinction between the outside world, which is considered dirty, and the inside world, which is meant to be kept clean. In Japan, where sitting on the floor on tatami mats is common, keeping the floors clean is especially important. So how do you know when to take your shoes off? Look for the signs. The most obvious one is the genkan. This is the lowered entryway or floor you'll see right inside the door. If the floor level steps up, that's your cue. The lower level is for shoes. The upper level is for socked or slippered feet. You will also often see a shoe rack or a line of other people's shoes already there. The proper etiquette is to take your shoes off in the jenkin, step up onto the clean floor, and then turn your shoes so they are pointing towards the outside. This makes them easy to put back on when you leave. Often, you will be provided with indoor slippers. Use them. And this leads to a second level of shoe etiquette, the toilet slippers. In many homes, ryokans, and some restaurants, you'll find a separate pair of slippers waiting just outside the bathroom door. You are meant to leave your house slippers outside, switch into the toilet slippers, use the restroom, and this is the part people forget: switch back into the house slippers when you're done. Accidentally walking back into a dining room wearing the toilet slippers is a common, and slightly embarrassing, mistake that even Japanese people make from time to time. Mistake number 6. Tipping anyone for anything. In many Western countries, tipping is a standard practice, a way to show appreciation for good service. In Japan, it is not. The mistake is leaving a tip for your waiter, a taxi driver, a bartender, or hotel staff. Not only is it unnecessary, but it can create a moment of genuine confusion and awkwardness. The reason for this is that in Japan, excellent service is not considered something extra that needs to be rewarded with a tip. It is the expected standard, and it is already fully included in the price of the meal or service. The staff are paid a full wage and take pride in doing their job well, regardless of any extra incentive. If you leave cash on the table, it is very likely that the waiter will think you simply forgot your money and will come running after you down the street to return it. Tipping can also be misinterpreted. In some cases, it can be seen as a bit insulting, as if you were implying that their employer doesn't pay them a proper wage and they need your charity. It's simply not part of the social contract. So, what should you do instead to show your appreciation? Use your words. After a wonderful meal, as you're leaving the restaurant, a heartfelt gochisusama deshita is the perfect way to express your gratitude. It literally means it was a feast, and it's a standard, polite phrase that all the staff will understand and appreciate. For other services, a simple, smiling arigato gozaimasu, which means thank you very much, is more than enough. There are a few very specific exceptions, like if you've hired a private tour guide for a full day or an interpreter for a special event. In these cases, a prearranged fee or a gift in an envelope might be appropriate, but this is something that is planned, not a spontaneous tip. For 99.9% of all your interactions as a tourist, the rule is simple: keep your money in your wallet. Your politeness and gratitude are the best tips you can give. Alright, we've covered money, trains, chopsticks, shoes, and tipping. These are the foundational rules that will help you navigate your first few days. Now let's dive into some more specific situations you're almost guaranteed to encounter, starting with one of Japan's most famous and sometimes confusing features. Mistake number 7. Getting lost in the trash system. You've just finished a delicious crepe in Harajuku or a canned coffee from a vending machine, and now you have a wrapper and an empty can. You walk a few steps, looking for a public trash can. You walk a block, then another, and another. And soon you realize there are almost no public trash cans in Japan. The mistake here is to fold first, being surprised by this, and second, not knowing what to do about it. Many tourists end up just leaving their trash on a bench or trying to stuff it into the little bins next to vending machines, which are only meant for plastic bottles and cans bought from that specific machine. The reason for the lack of public bins is complex, partly stemming from a security incident in the 1990s, but it has evolved into a deeply ingrained social norm. The general principle in Japan is that you are responsible for the trash you create. The expectation is that you will carry it with you until you get back to your hotel, your apartment, or until you find a designated disposal area. So, what's the practical solution? Always carry a small plastic bag with you. A spare convenience store bag tucked into your backpack is perfect. You can use this as a portable trash can throughout the day. Then, when you get back to your hotel or airbnb, you can dispose of it properly. And this brings us to the next level of the trash system, separating your garbage. Japan takes recycling and trash separation very, very seriously. In your hotel room or apartment, you will almost certainly find multiple bins. Typically, they will be for combustibles, burnable trash like food scraps and paper, non-combustibles like some plastics and ceramics, and recyclables like plastic bottles, cans, and glass. The rules can be incredibly specific, right down to washing out your plastic bottles and removing the caps and labels before recycling them. As a tourist, you won't be expected to be a master of the local recycling schedule, but making a basic effort to separate your cans and bottles from your general waste will be noticed and appreciated. The key takeaway is, be prepared to carry your own trash, and when you do dispose of it, take a moment to see if you can separate it correctly. Mistake number 8. Blocking escalator traffic. This one might sound minor, but it's a rule of public flow that is followed with near-perfect precision, especially during rush hour in a busy train station. When you get on an escalator in Japan, there is a walking lane and a standing lane. The mistake is standing in the walking lane, accidentally creating a human roadblock for the people in a hurry behind you. This is where it gets a little tricky, because the rule changes depending on what city you're in. In Tokyo and most of the rest of Japan, the rule is stand on the left, walk on the right. This is the same as the flow of traffic on the roads. However, in Osaka and a few other cities in the Kansai region, the rule is the opposite, stand on the right, walk on the left. No one is exactly sure why this regional difference exists. Some theories link it to Osaka's historical merchant culture and a different way of organizing public spaces. But whatever the reason, the rule is the rule. So how do you avoid making a mistake? The easiest way is to just observe. When you approach an escalator, just take a half second to see what everyone else is doing. You'll see a neat, orderly line of people standing on one side. Just join that line. If you want to walk up the escalator, use the open lane. This is another example of that concept of wa, or group harmony. The system is designed for maximum efficiency and to be considerate of others. Some people need to stand, while others are rushing to catch a train. By following the local rule, you're not just being polite, you're becoming part of the incredibly smooth and efficient flow of people that allows Japan's massive cities to function. Mistake number 9. Assuming everyone speaks English. Japan is a very welcoming country for international visitors, and in major tourist hubs, hotels, and train stations. You will find plenty of English signage and staff who can help you, however. The mistake is assuming this will be true everywhere. Overall English proficiency in Japan is not as high as in many European countries, and once you step into a smaller neighborhood restaurant, a local shop, or a more rural area, you cannot rely on finding an English speaker. Expecting everyone to accommodate you in your language can come across as entitled. It also closes you off from so many authentic and wonderful experiences that lie just off the beaten path. The solution isn't to become fluent in Japanese overnight. It's to arm yourself with a few simple tools and a positive attitude. First, learn a few key Japanese phrases. Just being able to say sumimasen, excuse me, arigatou gozaimasu, thank you very much, and kore o oneshimasu, this one, please, while pointing at a menu will go an incredibly long way. The effort to speak even a tiny bit of the local language is hugely appreciated. Second, use technology. Translation apps like Google Translate are incredibly powerful. You can use the conversation mode to have a simple back and forth, and the camera function is a lifesaver for reading menus, signs, and product labels. Also, consider getting a pocket Wi-Fi device or a travel SIM card upon arrival. Being connected makes all of these tools instantly accessible. And third, don't be afraid to use gestures. Pointing politely, smiling, and a bit of pantomime can cross any language barrier. Japanese people are generally very helpful and will often go out of their way to assist a lost or confused tourist. Your positive attitude and willingness to try are far more important than your language skills. Mistake number 10. Eating and drinking while walking. In many countries, grabbing a coffee and a sandwich to eat while you walk down the street is a normal part of daily life. In Japan, this is a cultural mistake. Eating or drinking while walking is generally considered poor manners. The cultural reasoning is a mix of practicality and consideration. It's seen as messy, and in a culture that places a high value on cleanliness, the risk of spilling a drink or dropping food on a crowded street is something to be avoided. It's also seen as a lack of appreciation. Food is meant to be savored and enjoyed, even if it's a quick snack. It should be given a moment of your attention, not consumed mindlessly on the go. You'll notice that when Japanese people buy a drink from a vending machine, they will almost always stand next to the machine, finish their drink, and throw the bottle in the attached recycling bin before moving on. The same goes for food bought from a street vendor or a convenience store. They will usually find a designated seating area or simply stand to the side, out of the flow of pedestrian traffic, to finish their snack before continuing on their way. There are, of course, exceptions. During festivals or matsuri, eating street food as you wander through the stalls is part of the experience. And enjoying an ice cream cone on a hot day in a park is perfectly fine. The main rule applies to busy city streets and public transportation. The fix is simple, just follow the local custom. When you buy a snack or a drink, just take a moment. Stand aside, enjoy it, dispose of your trash responsibly, remembering mistake number 7, and then continue on with your walk. It's a small adjustment that encourages a more mindful way of enjoying things. Mistake number 11, taking photos where you shouldn't. With its stunning temples, futuristic cityscapes, and beautiful natural scenery, Japan is a photographer's paradise. But the mistake is assuming you can take a picture of anything, anytime. There are rules, both official and unspoken, about photography that are important to respect. First, the official rules. Many temples, shrines, and museums have strict policies against photography, especially of the interior halls or specific artifacts. These areas are often considered sacred spaces for worship, not just tourist attractions. Look for signs with a camera crossed out. They are usually very clear. Ignoring these signs is highly disrespectful. Second, thin-spoken rules. This mostly relates to photographing people. In general, it is considered rude to take a close-up photo of someone without their permission. This is especially true for people in traditional dress, like geishas or maikos in Kyoto. They are not public monuments, they are often on their way to an appointment. Swarming them with cameras is intrusive. If you want a photo, ask politely from a distance, and be prepared to be turned down. The same goes for shops and restaurants. Some chefs or shopkeepers do not want their establishments or products photographed. It's always best to ask first. A simple, "Shashin o tatmo ii desu ka?" "May I take a picture?" will show a great deal of respect. The best approach is to be mindful. Focus your camera on the incredible architecture, the beautiful gardens, the stunning landscapes, and the general street scenes. These are all fair game. But when your lens starts to focus on a specific person or a private establishment, take a moment to consider if you are intruding. Capturing the memory shouldn't come at the expense of someone else's peace or privacy. Mistake number 12, over-planning your itinerary. This might sound like strange advice. A trip to Japan requires a lot of planning, from train schedules to hotel bookings. And you should absolutely do that. But the final mistake is planning every single minute of every single day. Japan is a country that rewards exploration. Some of the most magical moments of a trip aren't found in a guidebook. They're found by wandering down a narrow side street and discovering a tiny perfect little temple or a family-run shop that has been there for 100 years, or a quiet cafe with the best coffee you've ever had. An overstuffed, rigid itinerary can turn your trip into a checklist. You end up rushing from one famous spot to the next, focused only on getting the perfect photo before you have to run to catch the next train. This can be incredibly stressful and can prevent you from truly experiencing the atmosphere of the place you're in. The solution is to build getting lost time into your schedule. Plan your 1 or 2 must-see sites for the day, but then leave a few hours completely free. Give yourself permission to just wander. Get off the train one station early and walk. follow a street just because it looks interesting. This is where you'll find the real, everyday Japan that exists beyond the famous tourist spots. So, to wrap it all up, don't stress about these rules. Japanese people are famously polite and understanding, and they will not expect you to be an expert on their culture. Nobody is going to be angry if you accidentally fumble with your change or stand on the wrong side of the escalator for a moment. But by knowing these things, by making a small effort to follow the local customs, you do something wonderful. You show respect. You make your interactions smoother. And most importantly, you move from being a passive observer to being a mindful and engaged participant in the incredible culture around you. And that is the key to a truly unforgettable trip to Japan. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video about Japan.